Well, hey, everybody. This is Connor here with Born Financial Coaching and the Born Financial Coaching Show. Uh, Thank you so much for listening here, however, you may be listening. Uh, you know, Today is all about a certain subset of folks that, man, have hit a huge milestone accomplishment. If you have recently paid off your debt or if you are currently living debt free, congratulations. That's huge. That's incredible. But but let's be honest here, right? Let's have this honest conversation. Being debt free is only part of the journey. In so many ways, it's the starting point of the journey, right? As you get to live like no one else, as someone famous gets to share from time to time. But there's so many different things that can happen after you've hit this debt-free mark that can get you back into debt that, are really avoidable things. And that's kind of what I'm going to talk about today is just a few simple post-debt freedom strategies that, are going to be able to help you prepare against a disaster. Wisdom and wealth. It's an interesting thing, this correlation and this combination. One thing I know for sure, and I can share with decent certainty, even though the amount of wisdom you have, doesn't always correlate or might not always correlate with the amount of wealth that you generate, some real practical biblical wisdom as it relates to just your money and finances can really help you to be prepared to prevent against calamity. um, and I think that I'm really looking forward to getting to share a few of these just post debt payoff strategies that could be really, really helpful for you. So what I'm going to do here is share my screen. So step one is going to be, don't forget your emergency fund. Don't forget your emergency fund. Um, and this is such an important thing to remember. And just because you're debt free doesn't mean that you aren't going to need your emergency fund. And in fact, point number two is going to really highlight the point of importance to have dollars set aside, for certain uses. If your debt payoff journey was intense, there is a chance that, your margins might look a whole lot more like a 3-month emergency fund in particular. And now is in fact, that's the time to take your emergency fund from 3 months all the way up to 6 months. Um, and that's the goal, right? Whether or not you're at that 6 month, and just a reminder, hey, don't feel like you can draw down on that already. Or if you're at 3 months and it is okay to say, I'm going to add just a little bit more cash to get up to that 6 months worth of essential expenses. Uh, the reason why is pretty simple. This fund becomes your safety net for when unexpected costs pop up. This is going to be for things like repairs, medical bills, or a gap between jobs. Instead of turning, to that credit card or a personal loan, you've already got that cash in place. Yet again, having this fund is going to give you options. And in personal finance, options reduce stress. I'm going to say that again. Having a 3 to 6 month emergency fund, and I'm going to say that again. Having this 6 month emergency fund is going to give you options. And in personal finance, options often reduce stress. And number two here, if you use credit, be smart. Step two, right? We're going to be not just adjusting how we use our credit, right? It's sort of yet again, another reminder approach for our credit cards. How you use them, if you use them, right? You could be somebody that really says, hey, I don't need to be using credit cards. That's totally fine. If you say, hey, I'd still like to have some credit cards, there's some points, whatever your reason may be, just wanted to share a thought or two as it relates to maybe a red flag that could go up in your personal spending where If the credit card gets at a certain level or a certain payment hasn't come after a certain time, you can adjust and you can raise that red flag and have that conversation. So if you're going to use a credit card, aim to pay the balance in full every month. That way, you're using credit as a convenience, not a crutch. If you avoid paying interest, that is going to keep that more money in your pocket. So, have that credit card be kind of just a debit card, right? Think about it like that. Be really disciplined to know how much you have to spend and how much you have to put on that credit card. Also, stay aware of your credit utilization. Try to keep it under 30% of your available limit to protect your credit score if that is something that is important to you. Credit can be a helpful tool, but only if it's used intentionally. So we're going to hit right here. We're going to put if you use a credit card, treat it like a debit card. Okay, and number 3 here is that we're going to prepare for big expenses with sinking funds. We're going to utilize sinking funds. Yahoo! This is awesome. Sinking funds are your secret weapons against those, slippery slopes back into the debt cycle. These are mini savings accounts, or not even really mini savings accounts. These are big time savings accounts. They can be for big irregular expenses. This is things like car maintenance that might come up, vacations, holiday presents, or annual insurance premiums. How do you do a sinking fund? Set aside a little money each month towards those future costs. If you avoid the stress of having to come up with a large sum all at once, this is going to not only reduce stress, but yet again help you pay that off in cash. Most importantly, you do avoid going back into debt to pay off those larger expenses. This step can often be overlooked, but it's what gives your budget resilience. You're not just reacting anymore. You're preparing. You know what I mean? Like, you can get to plan ahead for that next adventure that happens. Not that you want to write a check or anything like that, but you can at least feel a little bit more prepared. So to recap, what are those 3 practices that you need after you've hit that debt-free point in your life? Number 1, build that emergency fund to 6 months, or, let's keep that where we're at that 6-month mark. Number 2, be smart if you're using your credit card. Use it like a debit card. Don't get back into silly credit card debt. And number 3, start those sinking funds to help plan for that next large expense. These are practical steps. They aren't flashy, but they're how you stay in control of your money and maintain that freedom that you've worked so hard to earn. If you want help with a plan that is going to support that long-term financial freedom, I'd love to walk through that with you. Let's schedule a consultation anytime through my link, and would love to get to do that. Thanks for watching the Born Financial Coaching Show, and don't forget to sign up for that consultation. I'd love to get to share a few thoughts of how I could maybe help your financial situation. This has been Connor Bourne with Bourne Financial Coaching. Connor is an independent investment advisor representative affiliated with Registered Investment Advisor Strategic Blueprint. Everything that was discussed today on the financial front are principles that can be applied to certain circumstances. These circumstances may or may not be your own. Therefore, please do not consider this individual advice because I don't know your personal circumstances. If you would like to receive some personal advice, please reach out through my social media accounts at Bourne Financial Coaching, or send me an email at cbourne@bournefinancialcoaching.com. Thanks.